5 years had passed since what historians would call the 17-minute war, though most people in the galaxy preferred to pretend it had never happened at all. Life had returned to what appeared to be normal, with trade routes functioning, diplomatic meetings continuing, and younger species going about their daily business without any sign that the fundamental nature of galactic power had changed forever. Ambassador Kate Murphy sat in her modest office in the human embassy on Centauri Station, reviewing reports that most people would have found incredibly boring. Trade agreements between the Meridian Republic and the Outer Rim colonies, licensing disputes over mining rights in the Vega sector, a minor territorial disagreement between two species that had been arguing about the same 3 star systems for over a century. To any outside observer, Murphy looked like exactly what she appeared to be, a middle-aged human diplomat with graying brown hair and tired eyes, working in a small embassy with a staff of 12 people. Her office was pleasant but unremarkable, with standard furniture and the kind of decorations that suggested someone who had spent years dealing with the routine business of galactic politics. What the outside observers couldn't see was that Murphy's seemingly ordinary human brain was connected to a network that spanned the entire galaxy. Every thought, every decision, every piece of information was instantly available to 10 trillion other human minds scattered across thousands of star systems. She was simultaneously one person and part of something vastly larger. Ambassador, her assistant David Chen said as he entered the office with a datapad in his hand, "We have another situation developing in the Rigel sector. The Jadar Empire is making moves toward the farming colonies again." Murphy nodded, though she had been aware of the situation for several hours already. The Jadar were an aggressive species that had been expanding their territory steadily for the past 2 centuries. They specialized in conquering peaceful agricultural worlds, enslaving the populations, and turning entire planets into industrial facilities that produced weapons and ships for further expansion. "What's their current approach?" Murphy asked, though she already knew the answer. "Standard pattern," Chen replied. "They're claiming the farmers are harboring criminals and demanding the right to conduct security operations on the planets. It's the same excuse they used on the Kepler colonies before they took them over completely." Murphy touched a control on her desk, and a holographic display appeared showing the Rigel sector. 7 small worlds orbited a quiet yellow star, their surfaces covered with vast farms that fed dozens of other systems. The farming communities were peaceful, organized, and completely defenseless against military attack. Under the old system, the Galactic Council would have spent months debating the situation, while the Jadar gradually increased their pressure on the farmers. Eventually, the Council would have passed some kind of resolution that everyone would ignore, and the farming worlds would have fallen under Jadar control just like dozens of others over the years. But things were different now. "Dr. Johnson's team is already handling it," Murphy said casually. Dr. Chris Johnson worked for what was officially called the Department of Cultural Exchange, which maintained small offices on most major worlds throughout the galaxy. Unofficially, it was the Department of Subtle Intervention, and Dr. Johnson's job was to make sure that aggressive species like the Jadar gradually lost interest in conquering their peaceful neighbors. The process was so gentle that most people never noticed it happening. Jadar military commanders would find themselves questioning the wisdom of expansion campaigns. Their political leaders would discover new interests in art, philosophy, and peaceful trade. Their entire culture would slowly shift away from conquest and toward more productive activities. It wasn't mind control exactly. Humans had learned that forcing change on other species usually created more problems than it solved. Instead, they provided what Johnson called environmental encouragement, subtle influences that helped aggressive species discover better ways to spend their time and energy. "How long until the Jadar lose interest in the farming worlds?" Chen asked. "About 6 months," Murphy replied. "Maybe less if their military leadership continues to develop new interests in poetry and music." This was already happening. Admiral Korth, the Jadar commander responsible for the expansion campaign, had recently begun writing epic poems about the beauty of peaceful coexistence. His officers were forming musical groups and organizing art festivals instead of planning military operations. Within a year, the entire Jadar Empire would probably be more interested in hosting cultural exchanges than conducting military campaigns. The really beautiful part was that they would think it was their own idea. Lieutenant Colonel Janet Ross materialized in Murphy's office, appearing with the same smooth transition that humans had been using for years. She wore civilian clothes, a simple brown jacket and dark pants that made her look like any other person working on the station. Only her confident posture and alert eyes suggested any military background. "Status report from the Observation Corps," Ross said, settling into a chair across from Murphy's desk. "We currently have active observation teams on 4,217 worlds. Integration rates are holding steady at 97%. The Observation Corps was humanity's eyes and ears throughout the galaxy. Human agents lived openly among alien populations, maintaining perfect cover identities while gathering intelligence and providing early warning of potential problems. They were teachers, merchants, artists, scientists, and laborers. Ordinary people living extraordinary lives." "Any problems with identity maintenance?" Murphy asked. "3 minor incidents in the past month," Ross reported. Agent Martinez on Proxima 7 accidentally demonstrated enhanced reflexes during a sports competition. Agent Foster on Rigel 9 was caught lifting equipment that should have required mechanical assistance. Agent Kim on Vega 4 spoke in a language that doesn't officially exist yet. These were the kinds of small mistakes that happened when enhanced humans tried to live among normal people for extended periods. A moment of inattention, a reflexive action, a slip of the tongue, and suddenly someone was asking questions about why a seemingly ordinary person could do impossible things. "How did we handle the situations?" Murphy asked. "Standard memory adjustment protocols," Ross replied. "The witnesses now remember more reasonable explanations for what they saw." Martinez won his race through lucky timing. Foster had mechanical assistance that the observers somehow missed seeing. Kim was speaking a dialect from her home region that sounded foreign to local ears. Memory adjustment was one of humanity's most delicate capabilities. They could alter recent memories with surgical precision, changing what people remembered without affecting their core personality or important experiences. It was used sparingly and only to protect the secret of human advancement. But it was occasionally necessary to maintain the illusion that humans were still the same limited species they had always appeared to be. "Any other concerns?" Murphy asked. "The younger species are developing faster than expected," Ross said. "The Altarians have achieved faster than light travel about 50 years ahead of our projections. The Centauri Republic has made breakthroughs in artificial intelligence that could become problematic. We may need to provide some gentle guidance to make sure they don't accidentally create problems for themselves." This was another part of humanity's hidden role in the galaxy. While they carefully monitored aggressive species like the Jadar, they also watched over the younger, developing civilizations to make sure they didn't make the same mistakes that had led to wars and conflicts in the past. "Approved," Murphy said. "Send cultural exchange teams to both regions. Let's make sure they develop strong ethical foundations along with their new technologies." Admiral Morrison walked into the office, though he hadn't used a door. He simply stepped out of what appeared to be empty air, as if he had been standing there invisibly and decided to become visible again. At over 100 years old, he looked exactly the same as he had during the council meeting 5 years ago. Military bearing, sharp eyes, and the kind of calm confidence that came from knowing that no problem was too big to solve. "Status report from the Defense Fleet," Morrison said, taking a seat next to Ross. "We're currently maintaining active monitoring on all major military forces throughout the galaxy. No significant threats detected." "Define no significant threats," Murphy said with a slight smile. "Well," Morrison replied, "the hegemony is building a new class of battleship that they think will give them an advantage in their border dispute with the Federation. The battleships are approximately 50 years behind our current technology level. The Federation is developing new defensive systems that are approximately 60 years behind our current level. Neither side has any idea that we've been monitoring their development program since before they started." He activated a small device that projected holographic images into the air above Murphy's desk. The images showed massive alien warships under construction in shipyards throughout the galaxy. To most observers, they would have looked incredibly impressive. Miles-long vessels bristling. Jake Morrison sat in the briefing room aboard the space station. The room was cold and quiet. Around the large metal table sat 7 other humans, all looking worried. They had been called here for a special mission, but nobody knew what it was yet. Admiral Patricia Collins walked into the room. She was a tall woman with gray hair and serious eyes. She carried a data pad and looked like she had not slept in days. The Admiral pressed a button and a holographic image appeared above the table. The image showed a planet. It was red and angry looking, with storms covering most of its surface. Lightning flashed across the clouds, and the whole planet seemed to be spinning faster than it should. Jake had never seen anything like it. "This is planet K7739, the Admiral said. Her voice was steady but tired. "The Galactic Council has given it a Class 15 rating. That means it is the most dangerous type of planet we know about." Dr. Lisa Carter raised her hand. She was the team's scientist who studied alien life. "How dangerous are we talking about here?" The Admiral touched her data pad and new information appeared in the air. Numbers and charts filled the space above the table. "The air will burn your lungs in minutes. The gravity changes without warning and can crush you flat. The temperature goes from hot enough to melt metal to cold enough to freeze your blood solid. And that's just the weather." Ryan Blake, their engineer, looked at the data and shook his head. "What about the animals living there?" "The creatures on this planet are unlike anything we have seen before. Some of them are bigger than our ship. Others are so small you cannot see them, but they can eat through our strongest metals. The last team that tried to land there was from the Zilithian Empire. They had the best armor in the galaxy. We found pieces of their ship scattered across 3 continents. Amy Stevens, who handled communications, spoke up. "Why does the Council want us to go there? What's so important about this place?" Admiral Collins touched her pad again. The image changed to show the inside of the planet. Deep in the core, bright spots glowed like stars. Rare isotopes. The kind we need to power our fastest ships and strongest shields. K7739 has more of these materials than any 10 planets combined. The problem is getting to them. "How many teams have tried?" asked Derek Santos, their pilot. 47 different missions from 12 different species. The longest anyone has survived on the surface is 6 hours and 23 minutes. Hosts don't make it past the first hour. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the angry red planet spinning in the hologram. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. This was clearly a suicide mission, but nobody wanted to say it out loud. Tony Rodriguez, their security chief, finally asked the question everyone was thinking. "Why us? Why humans?" Admiral Collins smiled for the first time since entering the room. It was not a happy smile, because you're the species that crawled out of caves and decided to explore the ocean. You're the ones who looked at the vacuum of space and thought it would be fun to visit. Every other species in the galaxy thinks you're completely crazy, and that might be exactly what we need. Karen White, who worked with communications like Amy, looked confused. "I don't understand. What makes us different?" "Humans adapt," the Admiral explained. "When other species hit a wall, they either find a way around it or they give up. When humans hit a wall, they study it, figure out what it's made of, and then they usually just smash through it. The Galactic Council thinks that if anyone can survive on K7739 long enough to get those isotopes, it's us." Jake looked around the table at his crew. These were good people. Lisa was the smartest scientist he had ever met. Ryan could fix anything with spare parts and some wire. Amy and Karen could talk to anyone in the galaxy. Derek could fly a ship through a hurricane. Tony could protect them from anything that wanted to hurt them. "What's the timeline?" Jake asked. "You leave tomorrow morning. The Terra Nova is being loaded with everything we think you might need. Extra food, extra air, extra everything. We're also giving you some experimental equipment that has never been tested in real conditions." Lisa leaned forward. "What kind of experimental equipment?" "New armor that should protect you from the acid rain. Gravity stabilizers that might keep you from being crushed. Weapons that can work in the electromagnetic storms. And a communication system that should let you talk to us even through all the interference." Ryan raised his hand. "Should and might and supposedly. Those aren't very encouraging words, Admiral." "I won't lie to you," Admiral Collins said. "This mission is dangerous. More dangerous than anything humans have ever attempted, but the materials on that planet could change everything for our species. Better ships, better shields, better weapons. We could become one of the major powers in the galaxy instead of the newcomers everyone ignores." Derek asked, "What if we don't make it?" "Then you'll be remembered as heroes who tried to do something impossible. But I believe you can succeed." "You know why?" "Why?" Amy asked. "Because 47 other teams went to that planet trying to conquer it. They brought big ships and powerful weapons and tried to force their way in. You're going to be smarter than that. You're going to figure out how to work with the planet instead of against it." Tony looked skeptical. "Work with a planet that wants to kill us?" "Every world that humans have ever settled was trying to kill us at first. Earth tried to kill you with ice ages and volcanoes and diseases. You figured out how to survive anyway. Mars tried to kill you with cold and no air. You figured that out too. This is just one more hostile world, and humans are very good at making hostile worlds into homes. Jake stood up. Admiral, my crew and I accept the mission. Good, Admiral Collins said. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow you're going to attempt something that most of the galaxy thinks is impossible. The observation fleet will be watching from a safe distance. 12 different alien species want to see if humans are as tough as we claim to be. As the crew filed out of the briefing room, Jake looked back at the hologram of K7739. The red planet continued spinning, storms raging across its surface. Tomorrow, they would find out if humans really were as adaptable as everyone thought. The entire galaxy would be watching to see if they succeeded, or became just another failure in the planet's long list of victims. The Terra Nova moved through space toward the angry red planet. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching K7739 grow larger on the main screen. Behind them, 12 different alien ships waited at a safe distance. They wanted to watch the humans fail, just like all the other species before them. Captain, I'm picking up some really strange readings, Lisa Carter said from her science station. She was frowning at her instruments. This planet is giving off energy signatures I've never seen before. Derek Santos sat in the pilot's seat, his hands steady on the controls. Entry into the atmosphere in 5 minutes. Everyone better hold on tight because this is going to be rough. Through the ship's windows they could see the planet's surface. Red clouds swirled around continents covered in sharp crystal formations. Lightning jumped between the crystals, creating a light show that was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The 3 moons cast strange shadows that seemed to move on their own. Hull temperature rising, Ryan Blake reported from the engineering station. The atmospheric entry is going to be hot. Really hot. Amy Stevens was monitoring communications with the alien observation fleet. Captain, the Zilithian commander is asking if we want to reconsider. He says his people have the best armor in the galaxy, and they barely survived 20 minutes down there. Tell him we appreciate the concern, but we're going through with the mission, Jake replied. The Terra Nova hit the upper atmosphere, and the ship immediately started shaking. Jake had been through rough entries before, but this was different. The whole ship felt like it was being attacked by invisible hammers. Sparks flew from some of the control panels as the electromagnetic interference started affecting their systems. Switching to backup systems, Ryan called out over the noise. Primary navigation is down. Life support is holding steady. Lisa watched her scanners with growing amazement. Captain, these life-form readings are impossible. Some of these creatures are generating their own gravity fields. Others appear to be living lightning bolts. The shaking got worse as they dropped deeper into the atmosphere. Tony Rodriguez, strapped into his security station, was checking weapon systems. Defensive systems are online, but I'm not sure our weapons will work in this electromagnetic soup. Derek, how's our approach? Jake asked. Bumpy but controlled, Derek answered through gritted teeth, looking for a landing spot that won't kill us immediately. There, that valley between the crystal towers. It looks like it might be stable. As they broke through the cloud layer, the full horror of K7739 became visible. The landscape looked like something from a nightmare. Pools of liquid metal bubbled next to forests of trees that sparked with electricity. The ground itself seemed to be moving, shifting colors from red to purple to black. Landing in 30 seconds, Derek announced. Everyone brace for impact. The Terra Nova touched down hard. The landing gear hissed as it made contact with the strange ground. Outside, they could see a world that defied everything they knew about how planets should work. Karen White was monitoring the external sensors. Captain, we've got movement out there. Something big is approaching from the east. Jake switched the main screen to the external cameras. What he saw made his blood run cold. A creature the size of a small building was walking toward them. It looked like someone had carved a bear out of living rock, then given it 6 legs and glowing red eyes. Acid dripped from its mouth, burning holes in the ground where it landed. That thing is made of stone, Tony said in disbelief. How can something made of rock be alive? Lisa was frantically scanning the creature. It's not just alive, it's incredibly complex. Its body structure suggests it can survive in conditions that would kill anything else instantly. Is it hostile? Jake asked, unknown, but it's definitely curious about us. The stone creature stopped about 50 meters from the ship. It tilted its massive head, studying the Terra Nova like a puzzle it was trying to solve. Then it opened its mouth and let out a sound that was part roar, part singing, and part earthquake. Was that communication? Amy asked. Maybe, Lisa replied. The sound pattern was too complex to be random. Ryan was monitoring the ship's systems. Hull integrity is holding at 95%. Whatever Earth used to build this ship, it's tougher than anything I've seen, but the external temperature is climbing fast. Jake made a decision. We need to establish a perimeter and start exploring. Tony prepped the away team. Full environmental suits and maximum protection. Sir, with respect, stepping outside might be suicide, Tony said. Staying in the ship definitely won't complete our mission. We came here to get those isotopes, and they're not going to walk onto the ship by themselves. Lisa finished her initial scans of the area. Captain, I'm detecting several different types of hazards within 100 meters of our position. Acid pools that can dissolve our equipment, gravity fields that fluctuate randomly, and at least 6 different species of what appear to be predators. Any good news? Jake asked. The isotope readings are stronger here than anywhere else we've scanned. We're definitely in the right area. Derek checked his instruments. Weather report says we've got about 3 hours before the next major storm hits. If we're going outside, now would be the time? Jake looked at his crew. These were the best people he had ever worked with, and he was about to ask them to step onto the most dangerous planet in known space. Anyone who wants to stay on the ship can do so. No judgment. Nobody moved toward the exit. They all looked scared, but they also looked determined. All right then, Jake said. Let's show this planet what humans are made of. As they prepared to leave the ship, the stone creature outside let out another complex sound. This time, Lisa thought she detected something like a pattern in it. Maybe it was trying to communicate. Maybe it was warning them. Or maybe it was just announcing that dinner had arrived. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear chatter from the alien observation fleet. The other species were taking bets on how long the humans would survive. Most of the bets were for less than an hour. External suits checked and ready, Tony reported. Weapons charged and communication systems tested. Jake took a deep breath. Open the airlock. The door hissed open and the atmosphere of K7739 rushed in. Even through their protective suits, they could feel the hostility of this world. The air itself seemed angry, and the ground beneath their feet felt unstable. They stepped onto the surface of the most dangerous planet in the galaxy, while the stone creature watched them with glowing eyes that might have been curious, hungry, or both. Jake Morrison led his team out of the Terra Nova and onto the surface of K7739. The ground felt wrong under their feet. It was solid, but it seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. The air shimmered with heat and strange smells leaked through their suit filters. Stay close together, Jake ordered through the radio. Nobody wanders off alone. Lisa Carter knelt down and started taking samples of the soil. This is fascinating, she said. The ground isn't just dirt and rock. It's alive. There are microorganisms here that I've never seen before. Tony Rodriguez kept his weapon ready while scanning the area for threats. The stone creature was still watching them, but it hadn't moved closer. Captain, that thing has been staring at us for 10 minutes. I don't like it. It hasn't attacked us yet, Jake replied. Maybe it's just curious. Ryan Blake was checking his equipment when he noticed something strange. Hey, my metal detector is going crazy. There's something under the ground here, something big. Before anyone could respond, Karen White screamed. The ground beneath her feet was dissolving. Her boots were smoking and she was sinking into what looked like solid earth but was actually some kind of acid pit. Emergency protocols, Jake shouted. Get her out of there. Derek Santos grabbed the emergency rope from his pack and threw it to Karen. She caught it just as her boots completely dissolved. Derek and Tony pulled her to safety on a nearby rock formation. My feet are burning, Karen gasped. Whatever that stuff is, it ate through my boots in seconds. Lisa quickly scanned the area where Karen had been standing. It's not just acid. These microorganisms can break down any organic material almost instantly. They're everywhere in the soil. So we can't walk on the ground, Amy asked. Ryan studied the problem for a few minutes. Maybe we can. Give me 20 minutes. While Ryan worked on a solution, the team took shelter on a large crystal formation. The stone creature moved closer, stopping just outside their weapon range. It made more of those complex sounds, and Lisa tried to record them. I think it's trying to communicate, she said. The sound patterns are too regular to be random noise. Can you understand what it's saying? Jake asked. Not yet, but I'm working on it. Ryan finished his modifications and called everyone over. I've rigged electromagnetic fields around our boots. It should create a barrier between us and those organisms in the ground. Should? Tony asked. Well, the theory is sound. Let's test it. Derek volunteered to try first. He stepped onto the ground that had nearly eaten Karen alive. His boots sparked with blue energy, but they held. The microorganisms couldn't get through the electromagnetic barrier. It works, Derek said with relief. One by one, they all tested Ryan's modification. Soon the entire team was walking safely on the deadly ground. It was their first victory against the planet. Now let's find those isotopes, Jake said. They spent the next few hours exploring the area around their ship. Lisa took samples of everything she could find. Amy and Karen worked on improving their communication systems. Derek mapped the local terrain. Tony kept watch for predators. The breakthrough came when Lisa discovered something important about the planet's ecosystem. Captain, this isn't random chaos like everyone thought. There are patterns here. The acid pools rise and fall on a schedule. The gravity fields change with the movement of the 3 moons. Even the dangerous creatures follow predictable behavior. What kind of patterns? Jake asked. Look at this data. The acid levels are lowest every 26 hours. The gravity fields stabilize when the moons are aligned in certain ways. And that stone creature, it's not hunting randomly. It's protecting territory. Ryan plotted the patterns on his portable computer. If Lisa is right, we can predict when it's safe to move and when we need to take shelter. The previous exploration teams failed because they tried to fight the planet, Lisa explained. But if we work with these natural cycles, we might be able to survive here. As if to prove her point, the ground around them began to change color. The red soil shifted to purple, then to black. The air grew colder and the lightning in the distance stopped flashing. What's happening? Amy asked nervously. Lisa checked her instruments. According to the patterns, this is a rest period. The planet becomes less active every few hours. It's like it needs to sleep. During this quiet time, they made more progress than they had in the previous hours combined. Derek found a path that led toward the strongest isotope readings. Karen established better communication with the Terra Nova and the observation fleet. Tony discovered that the stone creature actually moved away from certain crystal formations. Why does it avoid those crystals? Jake asked. Tony studied the area carefully. Maybe they heard it somehow. Or maybe they're marking territory boundaries. Or maybe, Lisa said excitedly, they're marking the location of what we're looking for. She scanned the crystal formations with her equipment. The readings were incredible. Captain, the isotope concentrations around these crystals are off the charts. This is exactly what we came here to find. But as they approached the crystals, the stone creature moved to block their path. It didn't attack, but it made its intentions clear. It spread its massive body between the humans and the crystals, and the sounds it made were definitely warnings. It's protecting the isotopes, Tony realized. But why? Jake wondered. Lisa had been studying the creature's behavior and the environmental readings. Suddenly she understood. It's not just protecting the isotopes. It's protecting the entire ecosystem. These crystals and the materials around them are what keep this planet stable. Without them, the whole world would collapse. So if we take the isotopes, we destroy the planet? Derek asked. Not if we're careful, Lisa replied. But we can't just mine everything like the other species tried to do. We need to find a way to take what we need without damaging the ecosystem. The stone creature seemed to sense their discussion. It made more sounds, softer this time, almost like it was trying to explain something. I think it wants to help us, Amy said, but it needs to know we won't destroy its home. Jake looked at his team and then at the massive stone guardian. Then we need to figure out how to communicate with it. We need to show it that humans can be trusted. As the rest period ended and the planet began to wake up again, the team had a new mission. They weren't just here to gather isotopes anymore. They were here to prove that humans could work with alien life instead of just taking what they wanted. The stone creature watched them with glowing eyes, waiting to see if these strange visitors would be different from all the others who had come before. Jake Morrison watched as Tony Rodriguez slowly approached the stone creature. It was a risky plan, but they needed to establish communication if they wanted to complete their mission without destroying the planet. Easy does it, Jake said through the radio. Remember, we think it's intelligent, so treat it with respect. The stone creature stood perfectly still as Tony got within 10 meters. Up close, they could see that its body was covered in intricate patterns that glowed with soft light. Its 6 eyes tracked Tony's every movement, but it didn't seem aggressive. Tony stopped and slowly raised his hands to show he wasn't carrying weapons. The creature tilted its massive head and made a low rumbling sound that seemed almost curious. "Lisa, are you getting this?" Tony asked. "Recording everything," Lisa replied from her position near the crystal formations. "The sound patterns are definitely complex enough to be language." Karen White had been working on modifications to their communication equipment ever since they landed. "Tony, try using the frequency modulator on your suit radio. I've been analyzing the creature's vocalizations and I think it might respond to electromagnetic frequencies." Tony adjusted his radio settings and transmitted a simple pattern of tones. The creature's eyes brightened and it responded with its own series of sounds. For the first time since landing on K7739, the humans felt like they were making real progress. "It's working," Amy said excitedly. "Look, it's trying to copy your signal pattern." Over the next hour, they established a basic form of communication. The creature couldn't speak human language, and the humans couldn't make the complex sounds it used, but they found ways to exchange simple concepts through radio frequencies and body language. The breakthrough came when the creature led them to a section of the crystal forest that was clearly damaged. Many of the crystals were dark and lifeless, and the ground around them was diseased-looking. "What happened here?" Derek asked. Lisa scanned the area with her equipment. "There's some kind of infection spreading through the crystal network. It's killing the formations that keep the planet's ecosystem stable." The creature made urgent sounds and pointed toward the damaged area with one of its massive claws. Through their improvised communication system, it managed to convey that the infection was spreading and threatening the entire planet. So that's why it was protecting the healthy crystals. Jake realized. It's been fighting a losing battle against this disease. Ryan studied the infected crystals. "Captain, I think I know what caused this. Look at these burn marks. They're from energy weapons. The previous expedition teams must have damaged the crystal network when they tried to fight their way to the isotopes. The creature isn't just protecting its territory," Lisa said with growing understanding. "It's trying to save its entire world." The Stone Guardian seemed to sense their understanding. It made softer sounds now, almost pleading. Through their communication system, it showed them how the infection had spread from the areas where alien expeditions had used their weapons. "It wants our help," Karen translated, "but it doesn't know if it can trust us. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Then we'll prove we can be trusted. Ryan, can you figure out how to stop this infection?" Ryan and Lisa worked together to analyze the disease. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The infection seemed to be a form of silicon-based organism that fed on the energy that flowed through the crystal network. "It's like a computer virus but for living crystal," Ryan explained. "Every time someone used energy weapons near the crystals, they weakened the network's defenses and let the infection spread." "Can we stop it?" Jake asked. "Maybe. If we can generate a targeted electromagnetic pulse, we might be able to destroy the infection without damaging the healthy crystals. But it would mean going into the most dangerous part of the planet." The infected area was a nightmare landscape. The air was thick with toxic gases. The gravity fluctuated wildly, and electrical discharges jumped between the dying crystals with enough power to kill anyone they touched. "The suits won't protect us in there," Tony said after studying the conditions. "The electromagnetic interference alone would fry our electronics." "Then we build better protection," Ryan replied. "Give me 6 hours and access to the ship's fabrication equipment." While Ryan worked on their protection, the rest of the team continued to communicate with the stone creature. They learned that it was called something that roughly translated to Guardian of the Deep Roots. It had been protecting this planet for over 300 years. 300 years? Amy asked in amazement. "It's not just one creature," Lisa realized. "It's part of a species that's evolved specifically to maintain the planet's ecosystem. They're like living environmental protection systems." The Guardian showed them other areas where the infection was spreading. Without treatment, the entire crystal network would collapse within a few years. When that happened, the planet's delicate balance would be destroyed, and K7739 would become truly lifeless. Ryan finished his modifications just as the next rest period began. He had built electromagnetic shields that could protect them from the electrical discharges, and gravity stabilizers that would keep them from being crushed by the fluctuating gravitational fields. "The equipment is untested," he warned. "We'll be the first ones to try it in real conditions." "Story of our lives," Derek said with a grin. When has anything we've done on this mission been tested before? The team entered the infected zone during the planet's rest period, when the conditions were at their most stable. Even with Ryan's protective equipment, it was terrifying. The air glowed with dangerous energy, and the ground shifted beneath their feet like it was alive. The Guardian couldn't follow them into the infected area. It was too dangerous even for a creature made of living stone. It waited at the boundary, making worried sounds through their communication link. The pulse generator needs to be placed at the center of the infection, Ryan said, as they worked their way deeper into the dying crystal forest. That's where the concentration is highest. It took them 3 hours to reach the center. The area was a wasteland of broken crystals and poisoned ground. At the very heart of the infection, they found something unexpected. That's not natural, Lisa said, staring at a metallic object embedded in the largest crystal formation. Tony scanned it with his equipment. It's a piece of alien technology. Looks like part of a mining laser from one of the earlier expeditions. The infection started here, Jake realized. This piece of equipment has been leaking energy into the crystal network for years. Ryan set up his electromagnetic pulse generator while the others removed the alien device. It was dangerous work. The infected crystals discharged energy randomly, and the ground kept trying to dissolve their equipment. Pulse generator ready, Ryan announced. Everyone get back to minimum safe distance. The electromagnetic pulse lit up the infected zone like a miniature sun. For a moment, the entire area was filled with blinding light. When it faded, they could see the results. The diseased crystals were clearing up. The dark infection was being destroyed by the pulse, and healthy energy was starting to flow through the network again. It would take time for the area to fully heal, but the treatment was working. The Guardians' joy was unmistakable when they returned. It made celebratory sounds and actually danced, despite weighing several tons. Through their communication system, it expressed gratitude that they had never expected to receive from an alien creature. Now can we get those isotopes? Derek asked. The Guardian led them to a previously hidden area where isotope-rich crystals grew in perfect formations. It had been saving these resources, protecting them from the infection and from greedy aliens. Now it was willing to share them with the humans who had helped save its world. As they collected the materials they needed, Jake realized they had accomplished something more important than just completing their mission. They had proven that humans could work with alien life instead of exploiting it.